everyone! So for this card I am using one of my Art Impressions girlfriend's images. This is the giant cake image, which I think is hilarious. I think all of their girlfriend's stamps are hilarious. I'm slowly building up quite the collection of them. So I'm inking it up with the My Favorite Things Black Licorice Hybrid ink and stamping it onto CC Designs Copic Quality 110-pound cardstock, and I kind of stamped it off to the side there. This was a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock that I had just grabbed out of my stash, and I knew I wanted to trim it down, so I just stamped off in the corner and make it easier. And then I'm going to speed up the coloring portion of the video, and I guess I'll just play a little music because I don't really have anything to say particularly about the coloring. I just kind of used the stamp packaging as a cue to kind of give me an idea for the shading, and I also followed several of the colors they already used just to keep things kind of simple. I was in a little bit of a creative rut when I made this card. Yeah, I had other ideas going on, which I'll show later in the video, but as far as the actual coloring, I just kind of followed the packaging. And yeah, so I will be back in a couple minutes with my thoughts on the rest of the card. So once I was done coloring in the image, I just grabbed my handy dandy little paper trimmer here and trimmed down everything so that it was a fair bit smaller. And then I decided I wanted to kind of create a glow, since obviously there are tons of candles on here. So to do that, all I did was I grabbed a light yellow Copic marker. I think this one's Y11 here. And I just kind of scribbled it along, you know, above the candles, and then I added a little bit on the edges of the faces and the hats because, you know, there would be kind of a glow on those as well. I'm not super artistic and smart when it comes to those sorts of techniques when it comes to coloring. Yeah, I don't do it very often, but I thought this I could kind of get away with. So I also wanted to blend out the scribbling I'd done. You can't see it as much on camera, but in real life it was like a scribble. So I just used my Y00 to blend it, and then the Y0 to blend it even more, and then finally my 0. And once that was done, this is where I got into the interesting part. It was in the back of my mind, I kind of wanted to create a burnt effect on the cardstock. My mind started, you know, rolling with this, and I was thinking like all those candles. I was going to color in smoke and do this, and I was like, you know what, screw that. I'm just going to make it look like I burnt the cardstock. And I was actually going to burn the cardstock. I had my lighter out and I thought about it for a second, and then I thought, you know what, I better do this with ink, because if I start lighting cardstock on fire, I'm probably going to burn my house down. So I just used my distress inks to create a burned effect, and I just worked from lightest to darkest. So I used antique linen, vintage photo, walnut stain, and black soot, as you can see there. And I just sponged on the color with I just use little sponge daubers instead of my bigger, the ink blending tools, like the mini ink blending tools from Ranger. I just use little sponge daubers. You can get a more smoother effect if you use the mini ink tools. I just had the sponge daubers kind of handy. And I was kind of experimenting. If I was to do this card again, I'd probably use my actual little ink blending tools and get a smoother look. But I was just playing around to kind of see how it would turn out, and it was really fun. So I did the same thing on the actual card base. So you'll see when the card is done how it all kind of looks. But yeah, I just blended all the ink. And then I grabbed this sentiment from my Best Birthday Wishes set, because of course that goes very well with this image. The set actually was released a couple years ago. And I die cut it. I stamped it onto some MFT banana split cardstock, die cut it with one of the pierced fishtail flag stacks dies. And then I shifted it in the die again so that it could have the pierced edge there. Just really easy. You can just kind of feel it and it'll just slip right into the holes so that you don't double pierce everything. And then I'm going to pop the main image here up onto some foam tape. I decided not to use any pattern paper or anything else. That was kind of one of my original ideas, was to use a bunch of pattern paper and make it look like it was burnt and all that stuff. But I thought, you know, I'll just go with simple, just the white cardstock, because then that makes like the burnt areas really pop out here. And then I just added a little bit of foam tape there to the edge of the sentiment, because I wanted it to line up with the edge of the card, and then adhered that over the main image. And then for the inside of the card, I just inked up the same stamp again with the MFT's Banana Split ink, and stamped that into the center of the card. And then I grabbed another sentiment from the same Best Birthday Wishes set, and this time I inked it up with the black licorice ink. And then I used my stamp positioner so I could center it kind of right over the cake there. And yeah, this was another one that just went quite well with this image. I love when that happens. So once I was done with that, I wanted to add a little bit more embellishment to the card. So I just grabbed my yellow Wink of Stella pen brush, and added that to the candles and then to one of the little earrings there. So it just adds shimmer. You can kind of see it's just picked up a little bit on camera there. But yeah, I just added some shimmer. I waited a second and then I added another coat just to give it a little bit more shimmer. And then finally, for my last little bit of embellishments, I just grabbed some sequins from my stash and my Ranger Multi-Medium Matte. And I've just got my little quick stick tool here that's got like Funtac temporary adhesive there in there. And it just picks up the sequins, I dab it into the adhesive and adhere it, and that's all there was to it. So as always, there will be a link below to my blog post with links to all the supplies used. Thank you guys so much for watching and liking my videos, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!